So we need to turn now to item 8, which is the board assurance framework. Bill, will you please introduce this?
This follows on the tradition. I think we started at the very first board meeting when we were the commissioning board authority in those days, weren't we? And we published a risk register, and that was something I think was quite unusual, unique perhaps in public service at the centre. We think through the process of transition, it served us really well. We were very honest about the challenges we faced. We were very open about them, and that enabled us, seriously to deal with them and tackle them. And we thought it was very important to carry on in that vein as we've taken on all of our responsibilities, and that's what this board assurance framework is about. Very grateful to Ed and the audit committee for the work they've done to help us develop the methodology. And perhaps if I can just speak very briefly about that methodology first. What you have in front of you are 25 strategic risks. They are in the judgment of the executive team, the most significant strategic risks we're facing to the delivery of all of our objectives, what we want to achieve for patients and the public. And they come from two directions, really. The first is just looking at the difficulty of the tasks and objectives we're facing and being honest about the obstacles in the way, and then, importantly, saying, well, what is it we're doing about it to mitigate those risks? But there are also some risks, this second source, which are external. The financial environment that we're operating in, that we need to take account of, because that really does impact on our ability, the likelihood of us delivering everything we want to deliver. So that's how these have come together. We're setting up a process to ensure that this isn't 25 set in stone, or else it can become just an end in itself. So throughout our organisation, we're developing an approach to understanding objectives and the risks that are attendant upon them, whether that's in an area team in Cornwall, or whether it's part of the support centre in Leeds. And there is the ability then for those risks where they change or where something new and impactful comes along, for those to be escalated up, first of all, to directorate level, but then to the executive risk committee. So that's an important role that we collectively play in filtering some of those and understanding them. Yes, they're noteworthy, but we think you should be able to manage that perfectly well. Where we think there is something more significant for us as an executive team to really get a grip on it, to give it the right senior oversight, and where there's something we believe is strategic, to bring it through this process to the attention of the board. So these 25 won't stay still forever. Some, as they're managed, can leave. Some, as the escalation process works, we'll be bringing to your attention. Very briefly on the 25, the majority of them you'll see are outward facing. They're about our confidence in delivering the sort of quality and sort of improvement sort of outcomes we want to for patients and the public, and relating those to some of the actions we're taking. And then there are 7 at the end, which are about our organisation still in transition. These set of challenges we've still got to work through to make sure that we're an excellent organisation and therefore best fit to serve patients and the public. So very happy to take any comments, and colleagues will join any response on any of the individuals, but also Ed might want to give his perspective from audit committee on the overall process, perhaps.
Thank you. If I may call on Ed first.
I'm happy to do so. Firstly, we should recognise that the NAO, in their report on the transition, remarked on the way in which we did this through the transition and were positive in that approach. So adopting this in operations, I think, is absolutely the right thing to do. It is a best practice. The transparency by which we report it through these meetings is also a best practice. You were right, and I will reinforce this. It is only as good as the dynamic nature by which it is used by the whole of the organisation, and in particular by the board in monitoring the way in which items move through this list, either add to it or subtract from it, and the actions that we're taking to mitigate both the likelihood and the impact of the risk. So I'm hugely supportive of it. It has to be underpinned by a bubbling up of risks from across the organisation, and it then forms a vital piece of the way in which the internal audit function operates, the quality and risk committee, clinical risk committee operates, and the board operates. So I certainly commend it to this board, Malcolm, and I hope it becomes an essential board and leadership tool in the months and years ahead.
Thank you, Ed. Kieran?
Again, Greco, really good to see you in a kind of terrifying way. Good to see the one on procurement there. I think just from observing from my day job, I have seen people who want to improve services being stymied by what I would regard as maybe overcomplicated procurement rules not imposed by anybody in this room. But I'm also wondering, is there another risk, which is maybe still a transition risk, which is around the relationship of the system with itself? I don't have a view as to whether Bournemouth and Poole merging as foundation trust is or isn't a good idea, but I do have a view that if it's the right thing for outcomes, that another body saying, no, you can't do that for whatever duty that they have, isn't the right way to do it. So I'm wondering, is there another risk, which is all the different components in the system rubbing up against each other we haven't really worked out how to interact with competition, with Monitor, with CQC and so on as well. So just for thought, really, rather than a comment, maybe.
I think that's a very good point. Much of what we do will depend upon the quality of our relationships with partner organisations and aligning our effort. So it's certainly something to take back to executives committees.
It may not just be relationships. Maybe people are doing what they have been told to do in the new system, and that may be directly contradictory what we think we've been told to do. And how are we going to work through that?
Absolutely, the alignment of effort.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I think there are some aspects of that in some of them. So in 1 and 5, there is some. It is referred to, Kieran, but I don't know if you're looking for something more specific.
I might be feeling a bit stronger than the.
Okay.
But I had a meeting about 2 months ago with the chief executives of the acute hospitals in the southwest of England, which seems to be a place where this is a particular issue. And there were some extraordinary stories coming out of that, whether they were real or not, I'm not absolutely sure, about particularly the interplay between Monitor and the OFT, and their focus on the implications for competition as opposed to the implications for clinical standards or quality or whatever. And I think what we haven't got here yet is quite a mechanism to get that to bubble up through our system to enable it to happen. And I just think that kind of operational issues is something we need to reflect on and think about how we do it. I think it's a good point.
Okay, thank you. Are we happy to approve the board assurance framework? Yes, good. Thank you. May we move on then, Paul, to item 9 which is the annual report and accounts for last year.
Yes, I've nothing really much to say. This is more for record that they are now on the website. They've been laid before Parliament. They were laid in time to schedule and with full accounting honours, as it were. So I don't think the board needs to know anything more about them, unless there are any questions.
On the basis that the board doesn't need to know anything more about them, we should move on. But no, thank you for getting them delivered and laid before Parliament on time. That's an important formal step.